Welcome back to the 2015-16 school year. It's an honor for me to have an opportunity to say thank you and to share some focus areas as we begin a new school year together. Last year we launched our 3 goals: graduation rate, reading at 3rd grade level, and closing achievement gaps. And I appreciate so much the energy and enthusiasm with which you embraced those goals, and it was such a joyful thing for me to see throughout this entire district the incredible hard work that was invested in helping our students grow and achieve. When we release our data formally in September, you'll see that we made great progress on our graduation goal, and that's all of us over time who contribute to that. Our results on other academic areas were less than what we had expected. And for me, that's a bit heartbreaking when I see how hard all of you are working to help our students achieve. For those reasons, we're going to try to be a bit more focused and strategic in what we expect this year, and that we monitor it carefully, that we provide support around it, and that we then hold ourselves accountable for those strategies. The 4 priorities, as you'll recall from last year, were to provide differentiated support through the school improvement and continuous improvement process, to develop leaders in our district at all levels, both in the classroom, in operations, within our classified staff, and in our district leaders across the district. Our 3rd priority was to help equip folks to deal with struggling students. We know we're not going to close our gaps, we're not going to improve those literacy, math, and other areas in our district if we don't help those who enter behind and are struggling the most catch up. And those provide great challenges to us as a district. Our 4th priority is to engage our community around supporting those goals. We've been so blessed to have huge financial support from the Winston-Salem Foundation to really focus on how we develop adults. One of our major sort of theory of change here is that we believe adult behaviors do impact student outcomes. So how can we better support, nurture, train, and invest in adults in this organization this year so that we can help them see better outcomes for children? We're choosing to do that around 2 major areas this year, one of those being a strategy academy that will support teacher development. We're going to have to create a design team, we're going to involve teachers in that, but our goal is that by spring we have a structure in place that clearly defines how we can provide better training and support for teachers in our district. Some of that will be universal, meaning things that we all do, that we all need to be trained in, and others strategies out of that will be very targeted. There are areas that certain people need support that others do not. And then finally, there will also be optional areas people can pick and choose based on their own needs, energy, desire, passion to become involved or be trained in. The Collaborative Learning Conference is a great example of those optional opportunities for teacher development. As we begin the planning phases, we have chosen one tried and true strategy that is going to be universal for all of us, and that is a focus on good quality lesson planning. That doesn't mean we're going to prescribe a lesson planning format. It doesn't mean we're coming around as troops to check your plans. What it does mean is that as leaders in this district, we are saying all of us are going to plan lessons, and we're going to have basic research-driven components in those lessons that we know get good student outcomes. We've danced around all kinds of strategies, and all of us have worked hard on those, and in some cases we haven't focused on that tried and true lesson planning strategy, which research tells us can get us tenfold the outcomes of other strategies that we employ. So we're asking building level leaders to monitor carefully, and we will monitor how well they monitor the use of lesson plans in our district. We also will provide lots of opportunities for people to understand, develop, share, and look at quality lesson planning. The addition of the learning management system Haiku, which will be available for all of us, is another evidence of how we will try to provide support and resources for good quality lesson planning. We ask you to begin thinking about other bedrock strategies that you would want more training or support for as a district that we can build into our strategy academy as we move forward in planning for it. On the other side of this, supporting those priorities is the Leadership Academy. In its initial stages, the Leadership Academy will focus on district level leaders, principals, assistant principals, teacher leaders. How do we develop aspiring leaders and create that pipeline for leadership in our district? But what research solidly tells us is that turnaround districts and turnaround schools invest in developing leaders. Our first platform with leadership is going to be data analysis and application. How do we better understand all the different sources of data that's available to us, and then what do we do with it? How do we take it and apply it in such a way that it helps us get better outcomes for kids? And so that will be the strategy that we launch with the Leadership Academy as we design a more structured way to help develop leaders in our district. Underlying all of this is a focus on our gaps. And we believe that the strategies that we develop through the Strategy Academy and the Leadership Academy have also got to continue to provide and equip all of us in closing gaps for students. We've got to get on fire, folks, about closing some of the huge achievement gaps we have with some of our student groups in this district. And I just ask you to please join me this year in feeling that urgency that we don't have time to lose for our non-English speaking populations, for our students with disabilities, for our African American males, for our students who are economically disadvantaged. Those gaps don't just apply to certain schools in our district. We see those patterns and trends run across pretty much every school in our school system. And so all of us can benefit from those strategies that support and help us be better equipped to meet the needs of struggling students. Our work with Eric Jensen last year was a beginning effort to try to equip us better to deal with students who struggle. We will continue our support and training with Jensen, and in some ways include more targeted ways to do that as a district as well. Underlying all of this is how well we monitor these things and hold ourselves accountable. And so this year we're going to try to narrow that focus to those strategies that we're launching: lesson planning, data analysis and application, and our outreach and support of the struggling student. We're going to be very defined about how we monitor and hold accountable all of us in this organization who are responsible for the students that we have an honor to serve day in and day out. That accountability also applies to central office. So central office folks who are support mechanisms throughout this district will also be held accountable to the same student data that we hold schools accountable for. And how we organize that and assign it is underway as I share this with you, but I want you to know that accountability doesn't just apply to schools. It applies to all of us in this organization. And so just as we do formative assessments of students so that we can look at how we're doing throughout the year, our goal is at a minimum of 3 times a year to do the same with ourselves, with leaders in this district, around these focus areas so that we're sure we're making progress and holding ourselves accountable. I know that in your heart you want your kids to achieve. We all do. And I want us to see the fruits of our labor What is hard for me as your superintendent is to watch you work so hard and then us not see those desired outcomes be what you want them to be. And so we're hoping that instead of trying to launch 17 strategies and do a million different things in our schools, that if we focus on those few strategies that we know should get us those gains, and that we provide the training and support for them and then hold ourselves accountable for implementing them the way we should, that we will see those results that you're working so hard for. I look forward to this school year. I'm so excited about all the opportunities ahead of us, and I'm very proud to work with you as we launch these efforts this year. Have a great year.